Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Gina Bender.
I'm Ed.
And we are partners with Victory Nutrition. We're excited today because we have a very special guest that's going to be joining us. So you'll learn more about this special guest in just a few minutes. So I'm going to start a screen share and cover a few things real quick before we bring our guest on. So just stand by for just a moment. Okay, so again, welcome to the VNI Partner Training. We want to talk for a moment about upcoming events next week. You know, we build from event to event, so it's important that you get familiar with your back office and learn about where to find these events. And we're going to cover that too on this training. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd. Well, actually, the next event is Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, March 31st.
And today is?
Today is the 28th.
Saturday.
And actually Tuesday is our closeout. So be sure, and if you're a seasoned partner, your qualifications are coming up, make sure you look in your back office at qualifications, reach out to your partners and make sure they're doing the same. But we're going to have our first kickoff event this coming Tuesday with our new VNI product introduction event. Again, Tuesday, March 31st. That's going to be at 8 p.m. And then on Thursday, April 2nd at 8 p.m., we'll have our VNI Authorized Partner Model event. So before we were doing the product and the business overview together, that was on Thursday, we're going to separate these two, which is going to be wonderful because they're going to be informative. You're going to learn more. We'll get to cover more. So just make sure you mark this on your calendar, and the times have changed from 9 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.
So if you want somebody to just hear about the products, it's going to be Tuesday night. If you want to hear about the products and the partner.
Just the business.
Well, the business part of it, I'm sure they'll mention the products, but if they want to hear just about the partners, it's going to be Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. And then following Saturday, April 4th at 11 a.m. will be our next partner training webinar. So again, all these events are Zoom events. Of course, people can listen by phone, but we highly recommend that you tune in via computer, via your cell phone, and actually watch the event. We're visual learners, so we really enjoy being able to watch online. Okay, so let's move on. This is a snapshot. I know we got a lot of you people on, so I'd like to mention the calendar of events. If you're a partner and looking at this for perhaps the first or second time and you don't realize where you can find this information, you just go into your back office, go into this section called Calendar of Events, and you'll see up at the top it says Dashboard. And then you look down and click on Calendar of Events. And this is where you're going to find what is going on every single week. And of course, you'll see down here at the bottom, we have the next Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday event. Again, you can watch online or you can dial in and listen by phone. There's a lot of great information in your back office. So get familiar with these tools because this is going to help you shorten your learning curve and help you be able to build your business a lot quicker. Okay, team and VNI corporate training. You know, if you miss a corporate call or training webinar, you know, go back and listen or watch the training online. You know, I've had people reach out to me from time to time and they'll say that, you know, they're going to be out of town or something's going on, and for one reason or another, they want to know if it's recorded.
Now, it's best live if you can be here. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. But these events are recorded. They're also loaded up onto your VNI Life app. So the company's doing everything they can to help you make it easier for you to build your business. So the conference calls and webinars, again, are also located in your back office, and they can also be found on the YouTube channel. And as I mentioned earlier, on your VNI Life app. This is a snapshot of the VNI.life website. So if you're new, again, look at the top of your website and you'll see the social media icons. You'll see Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. Suzanne Brady, who's head of our she's the director of our marketing department. Her and her team put an awesome amount of information on these social media websites. And this is done, you know, pretty much on a daily basis. So if you want to check this out, you know, go in and subscribe. That's another way that you'll find some great information that you can also share on your social media pages. You know, utilize the tools again in your back office. Again, this is a way to help you shorten your learning curve and build your VNI business. As you can see on the left, the green arrow pointing over to conference calls. You know, some calls that VNI Corporate does are not webinars. They're actually dial-in phone calls. But again, these calls are recorded. Again, better if you listen online. But if you miss a call, you can always refer back to your back office to the conference calls section. And there are several ways to listen. As you can see over here to the right, you can click on the button that says listen. That'll take you directly to the file and listen right there online, you know, from your computer or your cell phone. You can also share a link. So you can copy a link not only from your back office, but also from your VNI Life app, which I do prefer to do it from my app because the VNI Life app will let you know if someone clicked on that link. And it's just a neat way to share on the go, so to speak. I've had, you know, partners reach out to me and said, I can't find the link, and I'll, you know, show them they can go to their VNI Life app and actually listen there. And you can also dial in and listen by phone for these corporate calls. We have, you know, an awesome community of plain people, you know, the Amish and Mennonite that don't have access readily to a computer. So we make it available for them to be able, as well as yourself, to be able to dial and listen to the recording on the phone.
But whenever possible, especially when it's a webinar like this, we do show things, so it's better if you're on the computer when you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, leading through adversity. You know, leading through adversity, you know, a lot of times we all have challenges. I don't like to say problems, but I like to consider a problem really more of a challenge. Nothing ever stays the same. You know, things change from day to day. Some people say, well, I can't build my business now. You know, this is going on. We've got all these challenges going on. Well, it's all about mindset, guys. Either you do it or you don't do it. You either can or you can't. So that's why we shared this little slide. I saw this and I thought, well, that's a great way to, you know, share with people. You know,
Gina and I are quarantined right now, but it really changed our life very little because we work from home.
Yep, absolutely.
We're used to this. A lot of people are having to readjust. We don't have to readjust. We are actually doing what we normally do.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody has challenges, guys. So, you know, this is just a challenge. There's been many, many challenges over the last, you know, years, 10 years, 100 years. We're always going to have challenges, but it's what you do with those challenges and turn that, you know, so-called negative into a positive.
Take the T off of can't.
Absolutely. So, you know, I've been listening to some John Maxwell as well as Ed, and there was a quote that he said that we really liked. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way.
Now, folks, I can tell you, Gina and I know the way, and we do the same things we're telling you to do, and we can show you how to do that. You got to plug into us. You got to plug into any of these trainings and anything that's going on with the company to understand everything that needs to be understood. But you know, we know the way, we'll show you the way, and we're going that way.
Absolutely. And we have other leaders that are actually on this webinar right now that can do the very same thing. We've had quite a few people in the past month, you know, go out there and change it. And talking about that, I want to bring up our very special guest who does just this. He leads the way for us, and he never gives up. He's been through a lot of challenges in his life, again, as well as all of us. So we want to bring up our very special guest, our founder and CEO, Bill Downs. Bill, I'm going to stop the screen share for just a second so I can bring you up so we can have like a I'm going to say a poolside chat, Bill, because actually today here in Charlotte, it's going to be 87 degrees.
Don't rub it in.
So grateful that we're in warm weather. But anyway, so Bill, we're excited to have you here. I wanted you to share a little bit from the heart because, you know, it's all about heart. That's what Victory Nutrition was launched on, heart, and your mission to help others. So if you don't mind, give us a little bit of your background and, you know, the mission of, you know, why VNI.
And maybe some of the challenges you've been through.
We don't have enough time for all that this morning. I was in the raw material business. Well, way back in the beginning, I was an extreme athlete. And I got into nutrition. I had a degree in business, and I got into nutrition because I wanted to improve my athletic performance. And that led me into research on what nutrients would accomplish what objectives. And I got involved in a cancer research project, and there were some issues that happened there that really deeply changed me. And I then decided to make a 180-degree about-face change and go into nutrition because there just seemed to be a screaming need for nourishment. We had been eating food that's been processed from the ground to the store shelves to the restaurants with chemical fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides and growth enhancers and genetic modification and gassing and irradiation and coloring and just about everything you can imagine, with the objective of making the food bigger, look better, last longer on the shelf. It's all about money. It's not about your health. And I went into the ingredient business with a company that made only proprietary ingredients. It was a startup. And I had one other gentleman that I worked with back in those days. That was 1990. I'd been with a dietary supplement company for about 5 years prior to that because I left the other type of commercial world and went to work in the nutrition industry. And I was a sales guy, and I was going to school at the same time, and I was doing a lot of research, and I did formulations. And I just, the deeper into it I got, the greater the affliction I had for people's needs. And so I went into the raw ingredient business, and I was in that business with one company for 13 years. And then I left and went out on my own, total of 24 years in the ingredient business, developing and presenting ingredients and marketing programs to get the message out with other big market customers. And the problem, as I said earlier, the number one addiction of the human species is greed. And there are many shortcomings along the way. The companies want to make more profits, so they substitute. They'll take, all these ingredients like botanicals have two names. They have a Latin binomial, it's called. It's in Latin, and binomial means there's two names. So you have Garcinia cambogia. There's two names for a popular weight loss product that we were doing like $12 million a month in. I mean, it was just a big business. The company eventually sold for 300 mil. And I was just an employee. I didn't get any piece of that at all. But the customers would take a cheap Garcinia cambogia, and the consumer never knew. And so the research that we did on Garcinia that showed that it worked would be used for the cheap ingredients. And in the final analysis, the consumer pays the price. The consequence is unfulfilled expectations. They think a product's going to work, and it doesn't work. And that caused many, many companies. So one company comes out with one ingredient, and then hundreds of companies jump on the bandwagon from hundreds of different suppliers, maybe thousands of companies, thousands of products out there. And it becomes a mind-blowing array. And every consumer thinks they just look for the cheapest price. And they don't realize that they're purchasing a fake product. It makes up for an outer appearance what it lacks in inner substance. It's a cheap knockoff replica of the real, genuine ingredient that made the science. And then what they do is they take different ingredients and they put them together. They use the science of the ingredients to promote the product. Well, the FDA doesn't really like that, and neither does the FTC. So the deeper and deeper I got in, the greater and greater was the need. And I'll skip over some of the financial losses that you and I both know that we both experienced because of greedy people at the top.
Right.
And decided to start Victory Nutrition, and asked my wife. At the time, I actually didn't want to start a relationship marketing company. I had had bad experiences with them. And my wife said, would you hurt anybody? And I said, absolutely not. And then she said, I want you to do some research and check out which of the big products in the industry, how they got there. And I went back and did, because I'd been in the ingredient business, and I went and looked at 30 years. And all the big blockbuster products started, with one exception that I could find, started by a network marketing company, whether it was Herbalife or Relive or whatever other company it might have been. It didn't matter. And Jeff Hooks likes to call those companies bottle rocket companies, because they hit big and then they do things and they fizzle, it doesn't matter what the problem is. But they hit the market big and created like the wake of a ship, created a halo effect where hundreds and hundreds of companies would jump into that pathway, and it went to health food stores, and it went to infomercial, and it went to doctors, and it went to the mass market, and just got absolutely diluted out. But it started with relationship, people to people. So I was watching the television one day, and there was a news program on, and it was back, people may remember, about 7.5 years ago, there were a few doctors that came back from Africa that had the Ebola virus. And boy, is this relevant to today. And they quarantined them in Dallas, Texas, and they wouldn't let them out because they didn't want the virus to spread, because as we are clearly learning now, viruses don't spread through the telephone, the television, through the radio, through the internet. Viruses spread person to person, face to face. It is about the people you come in contact with. And that had a profound effect on me. And in the early 90s, I had worked in a doctor's office. I had left the supplement company, and I had gone to work in a doctor's office in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And I saw patients coming in, and I saw drug reps coming through. And the doctor would have me sit and listen to the pitch and look at the data and then give him a summation of what I thought. But later, about the same time, about 7.5 years ago, there was an ad on TV, and it was for Nexium. And I was blown away. The pharmaceutical company is now advertising direct to the consumer. They're creating an army of demand. And it was a real head scratcher for me, because I used to see the reps come through the doctor's office, detail them, ask him which pharmacies most of his patients went to, and then the rep would go to the pharmacies and say, Dr. So-and-so is going to be using this drug. You need to put it in because he's going to be sending patients. Most of his patients are coming here. And that's how they do the business. All of a sudden, I'm seeing the pharmaceutical companies advertising to the consumer, and I went, my gracious goodness, we have to go direct to the consumer. So Kim was right. I needed to start a relationship marketing business, because face-to-face, person-to-person was the most effective way to put the information out. That's why all the big products, blockbuster products, were started by relationship marketing companies. So I went to experts in the industry, and I asked 3 of them exactly in 1 week. And I said, I'm going to start a relationship marketing business, direct selling, direct to consumer. And I need to know what to do. And because I've sold to them, and I've been on a corporate member in them. I've been an executive. I've been a vendor. I've been a trainer, a product trainer. but I've never actually owned that business. So tell me what I need to do. And so and keeping in mind how much I really love that type of business model, they told me, I got 3 of them in 1 week. I got a list of things that I was supposed to do. I paid them for their expertise. And then I did everything exactly the opposite of what they told me to do. Because I was not fond of the way that and I'll use the word, the stigma that hung over the industry. And I wanted it to be with integrity. So number one, one of the things they told me is don't waste your time doing all kinds of scientific research because people don't understand all that stuff. And I said, it's not about the people understanding it. The only thing they have to understand is it's validated in scientific research. And we'll go through the process of explaining what that involves and why it's valid. Peer-reviewed, double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled studies, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll get finished product research on all of our products so that we are approaching bulletproof from regulatory interventions as long as the people in the field don't make exaggerated claims, medical claims. We just don't want anybody making medical claims. Yeah, we don't diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease. We just give the body nourishment that it needs to fulfill the genetic instructions that God designed for it to have, to optimize our performance. And that's where, Kim and I and Steve Kushner started Victory Nutrition International. And Steve was introduced to me, and I can only tell you it was like 2 kids playing in the sandbox. I mean, we just hit it off so well, and like-minded, like spirit, really wanting to make a positive change in people's lives. And we got together on Protovite. He had developed a proprietary prototype to Protovite, and we got together and tweaked the formula and tweaked the engineering process for making the product. And when they manufactured the product, and it takes 2 days to make it, on the second day, when it sits for a few hours, we don't use any heat in making the product. It sits for a few hours. They take samples out of it to test for, toxic substances, pesticides, herbicides, stability, things like that. My objective and Steve's objective was mimicking cell membrane and body fluid properties. So we did everything we could to make that happen. And we didn't know what we were about to find out. We didn't know that was going to happen. But the production chemist called us and said, guys, something weird's happening here. We said, what do you mean? He said, well, your product heated up to 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit and stopped. At that moment, you expect to hear some kind of Twilight Zonian background music playing because there's no consumable product on planet Earth that heats up all by itself to body temperature and stops. We knew we had something extraordinary. And I'm going to say it was, divine inspiration and intervention that gave us the product Protovite. So while people look at the label and say, well, I've seen products like this, there's nothing like Protovite. And we use that technology, the proteasome technology, in all of our products so that we can now claim this is nutrition that gets in. Because when you put it in your mouth, and like if you have capsules, you open the capsules into a liquid if you want the best absorption, shake it up really good, and swish it around in your mouth for about 30 seconds. That was the study protocol. But the longer you do it, the better it works. We saw in live blood cell imaging studies a dramatic, within 5-minute improvement. We have no iron in Protovite, but we saw the iron-free Protovite restore iron-dependent hemoglobin in 5 minutes. And we just published a paper on that last year. That is a stunning achievement. So it restores hemoglobin and it boosts neutrophils. Nobody else has that like what we do.
That's actually what is the proteasome technology, which sets us apart from other companies, correct, Bill?
Yeah, we wanted you to go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, really, I mean, if you look at the back of our product bottle, it does look like everything else on the market. But you and I both know there's a lot of difference. And the difference is the proteasome. So
Yeah,
please tell us a little more about that.
There's two big differences.
Okay.
Number one, if you, for example, I'll just say the Restorgen formulas, if you listen to the product presentation, you see that there's 6 RestoreGen formulas. Look at the back of that label and look at all of the trademarks and logo ID intellectual property that we pay royalties to, we purchase from them, and we pay royalties to use these premium quality ingredients. I'm a fanatic about ingredients. You know, if you want to make a great meal, you don't wait until all the ingredients are bad before you make the meal. You want the freshest, richest, tastiest ingredients to go into your recipe. And we do the same thing in nutrition. Best ingredients. So the products are not inexpensive, but they are far less expensive to the consumer than they would be if we use standard markup equations that the rest of the industry does. We have the lowest profit margins at the price they sell at in the industry because I want to lower the barrier to entry so people can experience the benefit of these products. But just to answer your question, so premium quality ingredients and then the proteasome technology. So really simply, the proteasome technology, all of your cell membranes and all the soft tissues of your body are made of something called a phospholipid. Phospholipids come primarily from plants, plant oils. And we get ours from a German company that produces a non-GMO soy lecithin. And people go, well, I can't do soy. It's, you know, I have an allergy to soy or cancer promoting or whatever. The components that are problematic in soy are phytoestrogens and soy isoflavones and soy protein. None of that's in the product that we have because most lecithin is approximately 19 to 21% phosphatidylcholine. And if anybody's ever had lecithin granules and spilled some on a countertop and tried to wipe it off with their hand, it's kind of like trying to wipe off Formica adhesive. You hear this, that's at 19 to 21% phosphatidylcholine. The lecithin that we use is essentially 88 to 92% phosphatidylcholine. It is remarkably adhesive. And there are other phosphatides in there. There's phosphatidic acid, phosphatidylethanolamine, phosphatidylserine, etc. But because it is so rich with phospholipids, it has this adhesive property. It's ideal for what we use in the engineering process. And so we impregnate and saturate those phospholipids with free ions. And that's why they mimic cell membranes, because cell membranes are rich with free ions. And that goes into a vortex of water, a dynamic vortex running at about 20,000 RPMs. And the reason that's important is because you have 1.5 gallons of blood in your body, and it's circulating through a minimum of 60,000 miles of blood vessels, and it goes from head to toe back to head every 20 to 60 seconds when and only when you're healthy. That's the problem with all these chronic diseases, because the blood gets too thick and it can't circulate because it can't use oxygen. So in this dynamic vortex of sterile water, it's a reverse osmosis sterile water, we run it so fast that we create structured water. It lines up in, you know, the water molecules in neat little rows, and we add these phospholipids that have impregnated with free ions, and they circulate, and then we emulsify all the active ingredients in the protovite and add that to it, and these phospholipids encapsulate it, kind of like a liposome. That was sort of a foundational technology, but the difference between a liposome and a proteasome is the difference between a World War I biplane, 2-wing plane, and the Starship Enterprise. I'll use that scenario, that analogy. This is far more, because you can't liposome minerals, and we proteasome minerals. And we have ions, mineral ions, in the proteasome technology in the capsule, and so it encapsulates all these ingredients, creates these little carrier vesicles that when you put them in your mouth, which by the way heats up to 98.6, when you put them in your mouth, and it doesn't do that in a bottle, it only does that in a production batch. But when you put it in your mouth and swish it around, it's so body friendly, it goes into the blood through the sublingual mucosa, and what doesn't get absorbed goes into the stomach, doesn't break down, goes into the small intestine and begins to stick to the intestinal wall called the GI mucosal border, and passive diffusion in the alkaline pH of the GI tract in the mouth. Those outer layers degrade and phospholipids and nutrients and phytonutrients that have been emulsified are released into the blood. If they weren't emulsified, they'd create an immune catastrophe. But because they're so small, they're body friendly. And that's why all the VNI products have a remarkable ability to nourish the body at a cellular level and achieve some amazing health benefits.
Bill, you don't seem real passionate about this.
Let me ask you a question, Bill. What's the most expensive product out there on the market now?
It's the one that doesn't work because it can't get in.
Absolutely. And
It's simple. No matter what you paid for it. I had some people say to me, well, I use this daily one vitamin. I said, why'd you pay so much? They said, are you kidding me? You're like 6 times more expensive. I said, yeah, but you're not absorbing that. I said, you might as well go out and drag your tongue on the asphalt to get those nutrients. This is getting into the cells, and we have science to demonstrate that it gets into the cells and makes dramatic changes.
Well, I thought about, the health and wellness industry and a lot of the supplements that Ed and I have taken over the years. And basically, a lot of the companies were greedy, and it was about money. And those ingredients were fairy dusted, Bill.
Yeah,
they took the research and, only used, like you said, a portion of the ingredients, or they use cheaper ingredients to really make these products. Yeah, or both. So with Victory, we're thrilled because we stand behind the research and the science, and we can all be proud of what, VNI is bringing to the market. We don't know of any other company in the world that has and backs everything by the research and science like Victory. Now, I'm going to stop the screen share for just a minute because I have some more slides I want to touch on that I want you to share with us. So stand by just a second.
Okay.
And I will pull it up. And
I love that picture.
So you talked about your story and your YVNI and the proteasome technology. So I want to hear from you. I share about our corporate team. I'd love for you to share about, the corporate people, the ones that you work with every day and what they mean to you at VNI.
Oh, man. Well, the guy on the left, we won't talk about him. The guy in the center right there, Jeff Hooks, was introduced to me by YouTube. You guys, and actually I have to say, this is about a year process of you telling me I should meet with Jeff. And we finally did. And from what I understand, Jeff had the same, I won't say apprehension, but it wasn't high on the list of priorities for him to meet with me. And we got together and we had kind of the same experience meeting that Steve Kushner and I had. We just almost got giddy because we had so much in common. We're both men of faith, and Kim's a woman of faith, and you two are people of faith. And we're spirit-led, and we were on a mission. And Jeff had so much experience. He had brought other companies that didn't have a fraction of the valid product validation that we have to market, and built teams achieving top-line revenues of $500 million. It's extraordinary. This was like almost too good for him to believe that there were other people in the industry that had a fanatical devotion to ethics and integrity and validation and credibility. And that leads me to talk about Steve Kushner, was of the same ilk. He just had been burned as a formulator. Most formulators don't have a lot of happy stories. Companies get really successful and they just pretty much dismiss the formulator because they have the formula. They don't want to be involved with the formulator anymore. And it was another gentleman that introduced us to Craig Fleming. And we danced, and I'll use that word, danced with Craig for probably 6-8 months because we were too small to afford it. Mm-hmm. And finally, we got big enough, and I asked Craig to please join the VNI mission. I never say our business, because the business is simply the organized way that we carry out our mission, because we're on a mission. And Craig introduced me to Suzanne. And Suzanne, I mean, this This is birds of a feather flock together. And we've done research showing that, and Dr. Blum and I have done research showing that people that have the same genetic, I'll say predispositions, tend to stick together. So we even wrote a paper that in the study, in the paper that we wrote, we refer to the term birds of a feather flock together. You can see it in the elementary schoolyard. You can see it in high schools, sororities, fraternities, business cliques and groups. We have an amazing team of individuals who have a passion for this mission. And, you know, there's an old saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And we have to tell these individuals to take time off because they're just so devoted to the mission and to serving people. They actually get their kicks with the successes that come serving other people. And we are servant leaders as you are. We know this is not about arrogance or ego. This is about being a servant. And servant leadership is probably Jeff Hook's sweet spot. That
Yes.
He's just an incredible leader. And so we are so blessed with everybody on this team, and our scientific advisory board has the same, the same understanding. So we are blessed.
Yeah.
Heck of a team.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it is about relationship marketing. You know, we were all blessed to know Craig prior to Victory Nutrition International. In fact, I had met Suzanne many years ago as well through Craig, through a company that we were involved with. And of course, we knew Jeff. Actually, Bill, we've known you over 2 decades. And Ed and I met Jeff a couple of years prior to actually meeting you.
Right.
And of course, Steve was introduced to you too, even prior to starting Victory Nutrition. So again, it's all about relationships. I mentioned that because that was warm market to one or some or even all of us. And
Yeah.
so we're all from the old school. We've been doing this a long time, and you know,
We've seen it done wrong and we wanted to do it right.
yeah. So again, it's about
Amen.
relationships. You know, we're all independent business owners, other than you're a founder and CEO, but you know, you can do the business or choose to do the business however you want to. Our job as, you know, leader partners out here is to help those who are watching this, help them shorten their learning curve. And that's what you're doing today as well.
Yeah, let me make a comment. I don't want to give anybody the impression that, you know, our slogan is assisting people in becoming beacons of health, hope, and abundance. And that abundance has to do with an abundant quality of life. It has to do with better family relationships, better social relationships, better self-image, self-actualization, and financial abundance as well. I would love to have everybody make silly money, just getting a kick out of sharing our product technologies with other people and the benefits that they bring to their lives. I had somebody ask me way back when, and you know, I've told this story many times. The guy on the phone said, well, how much money can I make with your company? And I said, that is the wrong question. And he said, well, what's the right question? I said, the right question is, how great a contribution can you make to improving the quality of other people's lives? Because money will simply be the measure of the value of your contribution. I want people to make silly money, but we are not about the money. Money is a measure of the value of your contribution on this incredibly important mission to improve the quality of people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to share a quick story because of Ed and I being in Victory Nutrition, we've been able to, you know, help and share a lot of people along the way, Bill. And we've been able to create mailbox money, you know, long-term residual income.
A lot of thank you checks.
Yeah, a lot of thank you checks. And it's been able to afford us a lifestyle that we would not have been able to enjoy if we worked, you know, for the other man, so to speak. But in saying that, this past 3 days, I had the opportunity to go up and spend some time with my granddaughter who just turned 12 years old yesterday. And my daughter's in marketing, not with Victory, but she uses the products and loves the products. But she's in marketing with a major firm, a steakhouse, and it's actually the #1 steakhouse here in North Carolina. But it is a franchise. And guys, with Victory, there are no startup costs. It's about desire and, you know, taking care of your own needs. Well, long story short, I had the opportunity to meet this franchise owner, and he said, I think you're in real estate. And I said, no, I'm I work with nutraceuticals, not pharmaceuticals. I helped launch a company 6 years ago. And I said, we have incredible science-based nutritional supplements. And he goes, how's business? And I said, my business is doing great. I said, volume's up. And he goes, oh man, I'm going under. And now keep in mind, this situation here in the worldwide situation's only been going on a few weeks. And he's talking about 1 week. He says, well, I just want you to know, I lost $60,000 in profit last week and $100,000 overall in sales. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know, this business owns him. He has to be there from sun up to sundown while I'm out still enjoying the fruits of our labor and knowing that I can spend time with family. And that was really one of the big reasons, Bill, that Ed and I got involved in network marketing and relationship marketing, direct sales, is because of the time freedom and being able to work from home. So I hope I planted that seed.
Yeah, let me say that with this quarantining mandate that is having such an impact on people's lives, there's never been a better time to explore the opportunities of working from home and traveling when you want. But right now, we don't want to travel a whole lot and be around a whole lot of other people. But with the VNI Life app, you can share. You know, I don't want anybody to do mass mailings because then it's all about the money. This is building relationships. And now is the time to connect with people via computer, via cell phone, you know, through text messaging, through the VNI Life app, to make your life valuable because you're improving the quality of other people's lives with validated, scientifically validated nutritional products. This is a fantastic opportunity. And that's why our business is growing. And our products, and I'm going to boil this down, you may touch on this later, but our products do two very important things. They boost immune competence. All of our products boost immune competence. We have science showing that our products boost immune competence. And all of our products restore the ability for cells to use oxygen and water. So we know that all chronic diseases, whether they're viral, bacterial, inflammatory, whatever they are, whether it's cancer, arthritis, diabetes, whatever it is, are caused by an inability to effectively use oxygen and water. They're all anaerobic or hypoxic or acidic. They all mean the same thing. Yeah. And our products are targeted at restoring at a cellular level the ability for cells to use oxygen and water, and that includes immune cells to make energy, manage energy, and eliminate cellular waste, to do their jobs that they were genetically designed to do in the best way that they could do it. So enough of my soapbox.
Exactly. Okay, we'll move on to the next slide because I still want you to be able to share some more. Okay, so speak for just a moment about VNI Science and your science team, Bill.
Well, by the way, you're missing one there. We have a consultant as well. Dr. Debashis Bagchi is the most recent addition to our scientific advisory board and is an extraordinary researcher, but his wife, Manashi Bagchi, is also on our scientific advisory board and is a consultant to VNI. They have been on numerous National Institutes of Health grant review boards. I've worked with them since the early 1990s when in the ingredient business. They've gone on and worked with some other companies as well. Dr. Bagchi even worked with a company that brought superhydroxy cuts. Anybody's ever seen those infomercials and the commercials that are still running on TV for those products? He was the science guy behind those products. And Manashi was sitting in the background supporting that. Dr. Kenneth Blum is the father of psychiatric genetics. He's the guy that discovered the addiction gene and its association with severe alcoholism, which is now called the reward gene. And he coined the term reward deficiency syndrome. Between the Bagchis and Ken Blum, you're looking at just hundreds and hundreds of published clinical studies and scientific published papers that have to go through the peer review process. This is not like you write something and it gets published like you could do on the internet. This goes through a gauntlet of scrutiny and it's called peer review before it can achieve and merit the ability to be published. And they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of published papers and clinical studies that have been done. And clinical studies, in order to do a clinical study, we now, like we're doing one on the Protovite right now, an athletic performance study. We had to get an IRB, Institutional Review Board approval, which they have to look at the scientific premise, and they have to assure the safety, the scientific validation. Then it has to go to clinicaltrials.gov for registration. I mean, it's just an extraordinary gauntlet. There's, to the best of my knowledge, there's no other company out there, and I will say that there is no other company out there that has 48 published clinical studies on their finished products. We are it. So we have an extraordinary research team. I'm very privileged to be associated with both Dr. Bagchi and Ken Blum for many years. And as a result of my collaboration with them, I have well over 100 published papers, but you know, they have many, many, many hundreds of peer-reviewed papers published in peer-reviewed scientific credible journals with what's called a high rating value.
Right, exactly. And then our science can be found at vniscience.com, those clinical studies that you had mentioned, right. Correct, Bill?
Yeah, in addition to being on PubMed, which is Medline Online, published medical literature, and there's other libraries, internet scientific libraries that you can go to, but PubMed is a government site. And so all of our studies you can find on PubMed if the journals are still in business. Some of those back in the early 90s went out of business. So, but all of the ones that have been published with the link to PubMed is in vniscience.com. And we now have the vniscience.com link in our vni.life website. So you can go to the science site from our website.
Okay. All right, so you had mentioned this earlier, maintaining a strong immune system, important tips to help you stay safe. The reason I brought this up, Bill, is because this is on the VNI.life site. Suzanne Brady put up a PDF that talks about immunity and what's important, you know, about our product. So I'm going to move on for just a second and we'll go to this. So again, talk again. I know you mentioned a little bit about, you know, what our products do. Can you do, I know we're running out of time and I want to make sure we can get in this information. Spend a couple of minutes on immunity and why these supplements are important to our health. Why would anyone listening to this say, well, what's different? You know, we went through the proteasome technology. We know our products are premium quality. There's no other science out there. But talk about what's the benefits, I guess is what I'm trying to say. What's the benefits of Protovite, you know, and the benefit of taking time on. You know, you can do a 2 or 3 minute.
No, we can't.
Maybe about.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Ed. I appreciate that.
Maybe
yes.
talk about a minute or so on each one.
Here's the problem I have. I have no sense of time. So once I start talking about it and get passionate about it, the clock stops for me. So you may need to pull the plug on me because I am so passionate about what we do. And I'll get to your question now. The immune system, you know, there's no one way to benefit, to promote immune competence. There's many different pathways to promote immune competence. And that's why I said all of our products promote immune competence by different pathways at different angles, using different mechanisms of action. That would be the correct term to use. So we have the brick and mortar building material of Protovite that helps to restore the structure and functional competence of red blood cells and white blood cells. Now, white blood cells, your immune cells, come from 2 sources. They come from your bone marrow, B cells, and they come from your thymus, T cells. So when the blood is circulating through the thymus based on a feedback demand for more immune competence, if it has all the resources it needs, it converts the red blood cells into white blood cells. It's an amazing challenge. That's why we saw an almost immediate improvement in white blood cells, neutrophils in the blood. The most abundant white blood cell in the blood is a neutrophil. We saw a dramatic enhancement of neutrophil competence in 5 minutes after taking the Protovite. Well, that's not coming from the bone marrow. That's coming from the thymus. Those T cells are strengthening. And then the bone marrow cells are kicking in at a later point in time. So the immune system has to, it has to be able to find and detect things that aren't supposed to be there and get rid of them. There's an immune cell called macrophage. Macro, big, phage means eater, big eater cells. And the macrophage, by the way, neutrophils are macrophages. What they do is they grab a hold of, punch a hole in the antigen, the foreign enemy, and basically drain it and then eliminate it out of the body. And the capability of the immune cells to do that is dependent upon their intracellular machinery, the stuff that makes up the immune cell. And one of the components that makes up the immune cell are enzymes. And so that's why Enzorb was created, was to fund the body's metabolism. So over 100,000 biochemical transactions take place every moment in your body, and they're all funded by enzymes. So what we wanted to do was to restore the body's enzyme potential. We wanted to make deposits so that the body had more resources, because the food that we're eating, if you're eating cooked, refined, processed food, the enzymes are gone. And so your body's having to rob Peter to pay Paul. You're stealing enzymes from other biological compartments to fund digestion. And that's why the pancreas gets so big. Normally the pancreas should be about the size of your salivary glands. But because we've overburdened it so much and overburdened all the other organs of the body, that's why they have something called organomegaly, oversized organs, because they're straining themselves to death. It's interesting that in the most northern part of Canada, up in the Arctic, where the Eskimos, the Inuit Eskimos that eat all their food raw, they don't even have a tradition for medicine men. They don't have any cancer, no arthritis, no diabetes. They don't have gum infections. They don't have disease. Common cold is almost unheard of up there. So that's because all the food they're eating is loaded with enzymes. So we have an enzyme. We can exhaust our enzyme potential. We can deplete our enzyme. When your enzyme potential is gone, you're dead. So the most important thing we can do, in addition to providing brick and mortar building materials with a Protovite that the body can use and not require that the body try and make enzymes from that material, is give the body the enzymes it needs. And the Enzorb is metabolically activated enzymes. These are enzymes that look like they would be digestive enzymes, but they're engineered to work in the higher pH in the blood and the body tissues. So you hold it in your mouth, they're protozoan, you hold it in your mouth, it goes into your blood, and it activates metabolism. And those that are needed for digestion are reassigned to digestion. Those that are needed for something called cytochrome P450 go to cytochrome P450. Those that are needed for all the biological transactions in the body, that's where they get assigned. And then we have brain reward. People think of brain reward as just confined to the brain. The brain it's like the genes are your software. The brain is your operating system that manages, oversees, and regulates genetic instructions in every cell in the body. It's incredible. So we just wrote a paper that we're submitting to a scientific journal on the brain reward, showing that it affects sleeping, sight, vision, ocular health, immune health, digestive health. It's amazing. So all of these different products fund immune competence through different pathways and different mechanisms, which means, and this is the way I like to say it, is that we're giving the body the orchestra of nutrition so it can play the symphony of biology. It can work the way it's supposed to work, the way God designed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And touch for just a moment on Thion Extra. The reason I want you to speak on that as well is I had someone send me a video. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but he's in another company, and he was marketing a glutathione type product.
Yeah, the problem with taking glutathione is the same problem with taking cortisone. Your body stops making it. If you take straight glutathione, your body sees glutathione and says, oh, we don't need to make it anymore. And if you take glutathione long enough and your body stops making it long enough, the tissues in the cells that make glutathione can begin to atrophy. They lose the ability to make the glutathione on demand that's needed. So the best solution is providing, and by the way, glutathione and SOD, superoxide dismutase. You have thousands and thousands and thousands of enzymes in the body. And these are proteins, primarily they're proteins. There's some debate about if there's some non-proteins, but I'm going to call them all proteins. SOD is number 5. It's the 5th most abundant protein in the body. That means it's one of the most important enzymes, being the first enzymatic defense mechanism to prevent us from being damaged by oxygen-free radicals, superoxide dismutase. So SOD is so important that your body will rob zinc, because SOD is a zinc-dependent enzyme. Your body will rob zinc from DNA to fund SOD. That's how important it is. So glutathione is 2 steps down. So SOD and glutathione work like 2 hands clapping, or 2 hands shaking, or 2 hands interlocking. They are intimate collaborators in keeping us from decaying, from like an apple turns brown, to keep us from rusting and decaying like a rotting carcass. They prevent oxidative damage, and they are nutrient dependent. Glutathione is selenium dependent. So when you take the Enzorb, you're getting all the building materials to build glutathione and SOD. And that is when you don't have that, you overburden the immune system. So we are boosting immune competence by taking the Thione Extra, improving glutathione and SOD, and a whole bunch of other aspects, improving nitric oxide, restoring the ability to use oxygen and water. It's just a tremendous addition. And it's kind of like fuel additive. Yeah, we've got the brick and mortar in the Protovite. We've got the brain fuel and the body effect. We've got the enzymes. But for people that, and Gina, you're sitting next to one who uses Thione Extra, and would probably put out a hit contract on me if we ever did anything to Thione Extra. But it is the fuel additive to put the afterburners on antioxidant and immune support extraordinaire.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Bill. That was a great overview on the supplements. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so I'm going to speak for just a minute, Bill, so you can take a breath, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to talk for a moment about the complete immunity pack. This is the key to staying healthy and maintaining a robust immune system. So as the company shares about immunity, they want you to be able to take advantage of this special pack because it's deeply discounted. In fact, I was looking at the price, and I'll pull that up real quick. The wholesale price is $280.33, and they've rolled back the prices to basically 2018 prices. I think the suggested retail is about $395, but the package is a great deal for those who really want to improve and boost their immune system, because you're getting all 4 of the supplements. You're getting the Protovite, the Brain Reward, the Enzorb, and the Thione Extra, as well as some free product. You're getting actually another week's supply of the Enzorb absolutely free. So do look on your website at this package. When you're out there sharing and caring with others, make sure you let them know about this, because this is a great way for someone to start who's interested in improving their health, who's interested in not waiting until they get sick. You know, we've taken supplements for, well, half my life, and it's been taking them about that long too. And it's because We don't want to wait till we get sick. We want to stay healthy for as long as we can. So I want to mention one other thing. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to say something, Bill?
Well, I just want to make sure that we answer the 2 questions that came in on the chat.
Okay.
So go ahead and do this.
Well,
Okay.
you go ahead and answer because we really.
Well, I'm just going to end it after I show the slide. So you go on and answer, Bill. It's fine.
Okay, so how thorough is VNI tested for heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, VOCs, contaminants, etc.? Extremely thorough. Number one, all the raw materials are tested before they go into the product, and then the product is QC tested in-house, and it's sent to Eurofins, which is a German laboratory with US offices, and it's tested again for all of that, and then it goes to Canada for those products that are sold in Canada and tested up there by a different laboratory yet again, and that's why our products have natural product numbers are approved in Canada, because they get tested again. And by the way, it's a horribly expensive process, but it's just our commitment to validation. So we're squeaky clean when it comes to all those things. So we use great ingredients that don't have those problems, and then we test the finished product. And my wife is cooking and just set off the fire alarms. So
Tell her she'll need to get a talent.
yeah, well, that's what has to happen. So the last question is, SOD is number 5. What are the other 4 before SOD? Number 1 is collagen, your connective tissue. 2 is albumin, which is not, it's building material for making a lot of other proteins. Number 3 is hemoglobin. Number 4 is lymphocytes, and number 5 is SOD. So it's your immune system comes in before SOD, which makes sense. And your collagen is your connective tissue. There's many different forms of collagen, is number 1. And again, albumin, hemoglobin, your red blood cells, lymphocytes, and SOD.
And I just want to add, there will be a test after this webinar. I'm going to send it out to everyone that was on this call, and I want to make sure you know what those 5 are.
Or you can just take the products and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Bill, you're awesome. So I'm glad you were able to share with us today. The last thing that I want to share is I want to talk about the PDF, the immunity PDF. Suzanne got this loaded up on the website. So I'm going to click, because this is going to show you this. I pre-recorded this to show you that when you go to your VNI Life app, always pull down on it, and then you can scroll down on your app to get all the way down to the bottom to the PDF for customers. This is where you can share this PDF and send it to your prospects who are interested in health. Clicking on it, you can actually see it, and then you can go to the bottom and you can actually email this, or you can send it through text. So I'm showing you here how to send it through text. I sent it to Ed for a demonstration, because when you download the VNI Life app, it's going to pull in all your contacts. And then you can also, you might want to type a little message there before you send it, so they're probably already expecting this from you, but I always like to type a message, and then you can see at the top, it does show you that the message was sent and was sent successfully. So I'm going to stop here. I had a few more slides, but I'll cover that the next time we do our training, Bill, because I don't want to take up too much more time. I think we're a little bit over now, but you've done a wonderful job. And I want to thank you again, Bill, for all you do. And I want to thank Kim too, because she's like the wind beneath your wings, so to speak. I know she's out there.
Well, it's like I said, I'm the head, she's the neck controls the head.
Exactly. So I don't know if Kimmy can hear us, but thank you, Kim. I know you're in the background cooking.
And everybody enjoy their lunch.
Everybody enjoy your lunch. Have a wonderful Saturday afternoon and have a blessed weekend. God bless you all, and we'll talk soon.
God bless you all.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later.